Welcome back to another episode of Crypto Catch Up with me, Benny. Now, first things first, I'd like to say thank you to Living Room with Satoshi. It was my birthday the other day and I have been on holidays for a week, and they sent me a care package with a new t-shirt, some stickers, and a stubby cooler because I had one of their old ones, so thank you for the team for that. Now, the reason for this video is that in a couple of days' time, as we track along the blocks, it is expected that the Constantinople hard fork will occur on the Ethereum network. And what I want to go through is, what does that mean for you, what's changing, and any FAQs that I guess most people might have. So let's get into it. Alright, so Ethereum hard fork. Well, what really is it? Well, I've done a video and I'll put it up somewhere above here that you can link to about what are hard forks, soft forks, user activated soft forks, and the different kinds, just so you have a better understanding. But essentially, it's an upgrade or it can be a split from the network. And that's what we're going to talk about here, is the fact that this is, as it says 3 dot points down, a non-contentious hard fork. And what that means is this is a planned upgrade to the Ethereum network to include a range of different proposals. So it is an upgrade. It's going to include 5 Ethereum improvement proposals, or EIPs for short. It was originally planned for October-November 2018, but they found some issues with the consensus. What these changes are essentially doing is paving the way for proof of stake, definitely, sharding, EWASM, which is a change to the actual Ethereum virtual machine. But what we'll see in the shorter term is fairer gas pricing for some of the operations or the opcodes that are used. It's improving development, and it's all non-user facing. So you actually won't see any of this yourself, other than potentially seeing a cheaper gas price to be able to do some form of operation. The most important part, though, is there is no freebies. This is not an airdrop. There is not another project that's being spun up taking the Ethereum code as a part of this change. There are some that are out there being scammed, saying they are going to do that and you need to do this before a certain date, etc. Or they might not be a scam, they might be a legitimate project that's forked the Ethereum code base to come up with something special, and they're using this particular event to make their project better known. The high chance of it all, though, is that their project sucks. So what's the history behind the roadmap? So originally we had the Olympic testnet in 2015 for when Ethereum went live. We've followed through. We now have the Metropolis upgrade, which is 2-part, and the second part of that is the Constantinople. After that, we'll see Serenity, or also known as Ethereum 2.0, but Vitalik doesn't like it being called Ethereum 2.0, and that's going to include some massive changes. Proof of stake, sharding, quadratic sharding, EWASM, the beacon chain, a whole raft of changes, which is obviously still ongoing and research is still happening in that space. So, what was Constantinople? What happened? Why didn't we get it the first time? Well, the original activation was due to launch on the Ropsten testnet. Now, in Ethereum, there is multiple testnets. You have the Kovac, the Ropsten, and there's another one out there. And they actually run different proof of algorithms. So one of them has a proof of authority, another one has a proof of work. And on the block height of 4,230,000, or around October 14th, it was due to go live. But what happened is that more hashing power joined the network, which caused the actual block timings to change. And what that meant, that they actually activated 24 hours before it was due to. So there was no developers actually looking at the actual network at that time when this issue occurred. So block, 4,300,000 came around, and they realized there was no transactions in it. The network was actually stuck back at 299,999. So it ended up creating a 3-way split of the chain due to the consensus issue in one of the Ethereum improvement proposals. So what it came about, and after they did their analysis, the ETH core devs came back and said, there wasn't enough clients having time for their miners or their nodes to upgrade their software. They weren't simply ready for that, because the actual upgrade with that 24-hour, decrease, I guess, occurred 1 day after Parity had launched their software ready for that, and 6 days after Geth, which is Go Ethereum. There's actually no fork monitoring available on the testnet as well, which made it very hard for anyone else to work out what the hell was going on. So, where was the decision point to now go ahead with this, having potentially fixed the issue? So I was listening in on the Ethereum core developer meeting number 51 on December 7th, and they confirmed the upgrade to do this hard fork, that it was planned to happen at a particular block height. But there was a bit of conundrum going on what block height were they going to do it at? Were they going to use a palindrome? And a palindrome has, as it's shown on the screen there, that kind of numbering where it's 708, 807, so it reads the same front and backwards. And what actually occurred was that they weren't sure what happened, and then they worked out that these prior forks had occurred on the triple digits. So that's what they decided to go with in the end, to go ahead with 7080 000 with the 3 trailing zeros. There was discussion that maybe they'll use the palindrome on the test network from now on to keep the 2 points separated. And the agreement on that came at 41 minutes into that meeting on YouTube. If you don't know, Ethereum actually does all their Serenity, their proof of stake, all of their core dev teams, including all the teams that make all the different clients like Parity, Geth. They actually stream those meetings, so you can hear what they're talking about. They want it to be as open and as decentralized as possible, to show you that it's not some underhanded deal taking place. Cool. So what are the EIPs that are being included? Well, we have 5. The first one is bitwise shifting instructions in the EVM. So currently there is no bitwise shifting, which is a low-level programming which allows you to move the bits, so the binary bits, left or right. Currently in Ethereum, there is logical and arithmetic operations that allow you to do the same thing, but they're computationally expensive. So for example, to do some form of sum, with an arithmetic operator, it might take 35 gas, but to do it using a bitwise shifting instruction, so SHL or SHR, will only take 3 gas. So we're talking a 10 times improvement in the cost of your smart contract, or the efficiency there. So that's really awesome to be able to build that in. The next one actually came from Vitalik. It will enable state channels within the mainnet, but also more so specifically around addressing. So currently there's an issue where if you're going to create an address in a state channel that doesn't yet exist, it doesn't know what to do with it. Skinny Create 2 from Vitalik will enable that to happen, essentially all around that state channel, that Raiden network, or also comparable to the Lightning network on Bitcoin. EIP 1052, they're changing this opcode here. Essentially, there was a problem where it wasn't able to verify another contract, so they've had to improve this, because what it did in the past was it had to extract the code, the whole code base of that particular contract, execute it, work out whether it was correct, and then go from there. Computationally very expensive resource wise. This will make it a lot faster and a lot more efficient for the network. Net gas metering for SStore opcode, so that SStore is for short. Essentially it's allowing you to make multiple updates cheaply. There's not really much more to it. I'm not going to go into much more details, but it's an improvement to the opcode. The final one is a necessary one, because we need to delay what is known as the Ethereum Ice Age, which is this concept that when they switch from proof of work to proof of stake, they're going to make it computationally so hard that the Ethereum network will grind to a halt. Therefore, people will be forced to move off proof of work to proof of stake. So they're going to delay that time bomb by 12 months. So they have further time to obviously do the rest of the upgrades that they're needing for Serenity or Ethereum 2.0. And there will be a block reward adjustment. Now this is big. So this is going to change the economic policy of Ethereum as a whole, reducing the block reward from 3 to 2 per block. Now, some people go, well, oh, that sucks, or that's not very good, and that's true. There are certainly detractors in this space, because it doesn't actually come down to the block adjustment being a problem. It comes down for miners, as they care about the cost of electricity compared to the cost of the price of ETH. Now, if ETH price was still $1,500 and they're only getting 2 of them per block every 15 seconds, they're pretty happy little chappies. However, obviously at the current pricing, it is not feasible for them to mine, I think, under 13, if you're paying 13 kilowatt hour, like 13 cents per kilowatt hour, something like that. It's not profitable to mine ETH anymore. So there's obviously some changes going on there. But we'll talk about that block reward adjusting now, because it is a change to the economic policy. So like I said, it's going to go from a 3 to a 2 reward. That's a 33% decrease in supply over time. So unlike Bitcoin, which has a 21 million set, Ethereum doesn't. It is essentially just creating these over time, and it keeps going and keeps going and keeps going. So what will change now, it will move from 20,300 ETH a day, or 7.4 million a year, down to 13,400, an overall inflation drop of 2.9%, which is a difference between that 7.68 and the 4.80 on the chart here, or if I remember how to use this thing, there we go. And I've spelt this wrong here. Well done, Ben. So that's meant to say Uncle Blocks, because Uncle Blocks do also get a reward in Ethereum. It will move from around about 2.42 to 1.63. All of these stats are courtesy of Consensus. If you don't know what Uncle Blocks are, they're kind of like a block like your dad that was the winning block, but it didn't quite get there, so we give them like a participation award. It creates a heavier chain over time. So let's move right along. So some FAQs, some things you might be asking. So is there free tokens from this fork? Like I said earlier, no. This is a non-contentious planned upgrade to the Ethereum network to improve efficiency and some other things along the way. Will you notice a change? Most likely not. So if you are doing obviously some form of operations, it simply might just be cheaper now for you to do a particular, upgrade. The thing is, majority of us are only sending transactions. So all of the technicalities has been extracted away from us, and it is sitting away to the side. You don't need to worry about it. Do you have to move your ETH anywhere? No. So unless you're being told by your exchange you have to, most exchanges, if they're worth their grain of salt, will do all of this for you. There won't be any issues, assuming everybody upgrades. So what do you mean the economic policy is changing? So like I said before, there's this third inning concept. It will reduce supply, it will lower the inflation, and obviously the economic side effect of that is, are miners going to be able to afford to obviously continue to mine, considering the cost of electricity, etc. So will we see cheaper gas fees? Overall, yes, you will definitely see cheaper computational fees. Like I said just a little bit earlier though, you might not be interacting with them though. It might be done as a part of a smart contract creation or something else. Will we see improved transactions per second? No, but like I said, it is enabling state channels to be able to check addresses, etc. that didn't yet exist. So of course, that improved TPS comes because the state channel enables 1 million transactions a second according to their RAID network. ETH price moon? No, not at the moment. So the prior upgrade for the last one for Metropolis or Byzantium, sorry, it came with around 1,000% increase, but of course that was during a bull market. It's a bit different now. Was POW included? So programmatic proof of work? No, it wasn't. This is a new algorithm. It is yet to be tested in full effect to make sure it's obviously working. It will render ASICs essentially useless to go back to the GPU mining, etc. that Ethereum wants to remain decentralized. Am I a node miner? Oh, sorry, I am a node miner. What do I do? Well, you need to upgrade your software. Geth, Parity, AETH, whatever the bloody hell client you're using, etc. You'll need to upgrade that. So make sure you go to the websites to do that. Alright, some quick other info there. So the Ratum network is now live with an alpha testing their Red Eyes protocol on the mainnet, which uses state channels like Lightning Network to achieve around 1 million transactions per second. Of course, be very careful if you are going to use these services. They are alpha testing on the mainnet, which means anything could happen. You could lose your funds, so please be careful. And also in the discussion of the bi-weekly meeting of number 51, they were talking about removing proof of work testnets due to the timings and hard to work with for developers. So we'll see more come of that. All right, that is it. So that's the hard fork. You don't need to do anything, but there are major improvements coming for Ethereum to pave the way for their bigger upgrade as a part of Serenity. Hopefully that comes sometime this year, possibly 2020. Thank you all for watching.